is happening, party people? What is happening? Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Oh, over here playing. Hold up. Okay, hold up. Unhide. Oh my goodness. Oh no, what did I do? Okay. Okay. Just leave that there. What is happening, party people? It is your boy, Coach Sean, and we are back with another awesome conversation. This will be probably one of the quicker ones that we have in this installment and series. So I appreciate you for stopping by. If you're new, my name is Coach Sean. I am a faith based relationship coach, and I help hundreds of others build healthier, happier, and whole relationships with themselves, with God, and with others while building security that lasts beyond marriage. I got a little bit of a lower tone today, as they just got a sore throat. Mm. But we pushing through. All right, we pushing through because we got an amazing conversation that we need to buckle down on as we continue navigating through our series, talking about the dating app dilemma. All right, and of course, as always, coming into these streams, I have to set the my fault. I'm getting myself together. I have to set the premise, right, that this stream and this conversation, these conversations, are not designed to put you in a position to where it's like, oh, I have to use dating apps to date. Okay. I know there are a lot of people that have their differing opinions on it, and to each its own. All right, but this series is designed to help you get into a rhythm and flow of actually just seeing, okay, what's really out there, from a statistical perspective, wins, losses, and everything in between, so that you are actually able to maximize your dating experiences intentionally for the goal of, unity, marriage, and all those things beyond. Okay. And so we've really talked about a lot. I typically recap every part of the series so far. This is actually part 9 of our installment. Okay. And so if you go back and watch the replays that are all over on my YouTube, Coach Sean Walker is the handle. All right. You'll be able to kind of reflect on a lot of different conversations that we've built on up to this point. Okay. We've talked a lot about things ranging from the objections of dating apps to the bigger questions that are asked in the usage of dating apps, to the psychological approaches, both from men and women in their approach to dating, and then the psychological aspect that we covered last time on the usage of the apps. Okay. We answered the question: should Christians use dating apps? Is God actually putting people together through dating apps? Is that something God designed, or is something that God gets behind? Okay. We kind of traveled through some perspectives biblically on that, while also understanding, too, that the very Bible that we read doesn't even talk about dating, because dating wasn't even a thing in the cultural times such as that, right? So, of course, we're in new times, new ages, yet principles remain the same. Truth remains the same. Okay. So we just kind of navigated through some of those beginnings. And now we are here, and we're actually taking a transition into the series. Okay. We talked a lot about what you need to do when it comes to healing. Okay. Obviously, it's not a dating app issue, it's a you issue, it's a heart issue, it's a posture issue, it's a belief issue, right? And now that we've kind of uncovered the need to, be in a safe space, be a safe person, to heal, um, to get yourself together in the right places. All right. This is going to be something that's going to make a difference in your dating altogether. Okay. Dating intentionally, coming in with a game plan, all the things that are going to make your dating experiences that much better. We're not promising all the matches, we're not promising all of the wins. What we are promising is better quality. What we are promising is that regardless of the outcomes, you're going to be okay. Because a lot of the things that we've talked about up to this point to help you date healthily, to date better, and to find your person. All right. So, with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and dive into the conversation, and then adjust from there. This will be probably one of the quicker ones, and then we'll have a little bit of Q&A that we'll spend some time on across all platforms to navigate. All right, shout out to Bryce in the building on Instagram. Good to see you, man. Um, so now that we're taking this transition into it, all right, we're taking our transition into now like the actual dating apps and the experiences on them. Okay, more so regarding now your profile. All right, we've talked about a lot. All right, your heart posture, healing, making sure that you're in a healthy place, making sure that your lens and view on dating, relationships, and who you are, where you are, as you are, right? Self awareness, moving and all those things that allows you to come into spaces like this, even though it's a low barrier of entry, presents more challenges. You're trusting your ability to make healthier decisions, to discern, to sift through. We covered a lot of that. Okay, again, if you missed it, go back into my previous streams over on YouTube, and there you'll be able to see them. All right. But today, we're now shifting this conversation to a more practical approach. Okay, actually dealing with your profile. All right. And the biggest thing about your profile in summary, right, is it is supposed to be a place where you are to filter out, okay, people that really don't match what you're looking for. Okay. Your profile is not necessarily designed to be something that's performative. Your profile is not designed to be something that is supposed to be flashy, showing all your goods, all the things as a means of just trying to look apart. Okay. Believe it or not, from a dating app statistical perspective, a lot of people are chasing after the same type of person. And no wonder why we're all single. Because everybody is chasing after the same type of person. And in reality, right, there has to be a level of nuance into who you look for and what it means for you so you can actually get the healthiest connections and matches possible. That doesn't mean that we don't look for people that are not attractive. Okay. It just means that we redefine what attraction looks like. That doesn't exclude looks, but also isn't limited to looks. Okay. And so this is really, really important as we shift into this conversation of practicality, something that you're going to be able to take with you beyond this time that we share together. It's something that you're going to be able to have to fall back on if you are someone who re-engages with dating apps. Maybe there's a time where you feel more confident to get back on them. Maybe you know somebody who could benefit from this because you know that this is the field that they're in. This is something you really, really want to save and come back to as we're navigating this together. Bryce, yeah, man, ask away over on Instagram. I'm gonna come back around for Q&A. All right, so stick around. This is gonna be a really short stream in terms of what we're talking about in topic. So yeah, stick around. But for sure, ask your question, and I'll definitely come back to it. All right, won't forget about you. So again, when it comes to making your profile, it's designed to be a place to filter. Okay. And what most people like to do is make profiles that attract attention instead of alignment. Okay. And so, of course, it goes down to your pictures, it goes down to the type of prompts you put. God knows how many times I have seen accounts and profiles that don't even answer questions, don't even answer prompts. And those are ones that you should clearly move out of the way, right? We don't even have time to investigate. I don't care how cute they are. I don't care how attractive they look. I don't care what they look like regarding the few photos they have up there. If you're too lazy to answer prompts, you probably aren't on the dating apps for a good reason, right? If you're too lazy to actually put some intentional effort into the prompts that are positioned, the pictures that you need to post, okay, and all those things, then a good chance is that you're on the dating apps for a wrong reason, and you should probably kick rocks. All right. Um, because especially as we're moving with intentionality, we don't have time to invest into people or into situations that don't even want to show up in the platform that is provided for them to make help and to make the right connections based on where they are, who they are, um, and not even show the effort. Okay, so we have to be willing to look at that and navigate that in the best of ways. Okay. And so the few things that we're going to cover in this conversation, yes, we're talking about pictures, okay, prompts, all right, even regarding your faith, all right, obviously values, things that present a picture of alignment for you, okay, how can we actually express that without sounding performative, leaving paragraphs, all the things, all right. Um, adding a little bit of humor, okay, some clarity, all right, without sounding too intense, sounding like somebody's coach, parent, okay, teacher, all right, but there's some clarity in terms of what you're looking for, and it may not necessarily be all of it, but there are key points to it. All right. Avoiding bitterness in your bio. I mean, my God, I don't know how many times I've come across different apps, different people, different profiles and accounts throughout my tenure on dating apps where, um, your introduction to people is through what you've been wounded by. Your introduction to people is, I don't like this. I can't stand that. This, that, and the third, and it's actually hurting you, not helping you. And it's a clear red flag and indication to me that if you're introducing yourself to other people on an app, who again, most majority of people on there don't know you, don't have access to you. Okay, this is supposed to be a beginning point, and how they're first introduced to you is through a litmus test, a litmus description of negative experiences, negative beliefs, negative thinking processes when it comes to dating and your experiences. No wonder you're not getting any matches. No wonder you're not making any connections. No wonder it actually isn't something that works for you. Not because it's broken, but because you're approaching it from a broken perspective. And it's clear as day. And everybody else sees it but you. Okay. So we want to do ourselves a favor and avoid bitterness in our bio. We're going to talk a little bit about how to do that. And then why vague profiles truly just simply attract vague people. Okay. Surface level profiles attract surface level people. Okay. If all you have are the looks and the pictures and the angles, but there's no introductory to your personality, who you are, what you do, what you're interested in, what makes you you to invite conversation, well, of course, you're going to only get people who are going to like your profile and not say anything. Of course, you're only going to get people who are just as vague as you are because your profile is not made with intentionality. It's made to simply be performative. We're going to talk a little bit about why and how to make those adjustments. Okay. So here's the biggest thing that you have to realize as we make this transition into this conversation is that your profile should not attract everybody. Okay. Your profile is not designed to attract everybody. And if you're on dating apps thinking you have the goods to attract everybody, you might be a problem. But your profile should not attract everybody. It should be able to help the wrong people keep scrolling. Okay. We'll just take a breather off of that. Your profile should not attract everybody, but it should be something that tells the people that don't make sense to keep scrolling. Okay. And there's plenty of ways to do this that's intentional. And that doesn't make you come off as somebody that's arrogant or all the other things that we might be afraid of being perceived as by way of stating what we're looking for, what we're standing for, all the things. Okay. Again, this is not necessarily to suggest, hey, you should get on dating apps. But I'm actually wanting to create a space for those of you who are like, yo, I don't go out much, or with the time of day and schedule and setup that I got, hey, I am going to look to invest a little bit in dating apps just to see what's out there and just to put my feet in the water slowly back into the dating pool. This is for you guys to actually navigate it healthily. And it all is mattered. It all stems from you being a healthy person. Okay. A healthy person. So let's look at a profile framework that I think is really, really helpful. All right. Um, and this is something that I think is going to go a long way when it comes to building your profile and making sure that it's as helpful as it can be. Okay. And these are called the 5 Ps. Okay. These are 5 Ps to your profile framework. All right. The 5P framework, if you want to ask. Okay. Or simply put it out there. Okay. A profile primarily should be about filtering out most people, quality over quantity. You got it, Sophie. Absolutely. Right. It shouldn't attract everybody, but it should help get the wrong people keep scrolling. All right. So the first thing that you want to keep in mind that makes a profile good, okay, in regards to a framework to keep in mind when you're creating your profile, is personality. Okay. If you're live, if you're present, if you're around, put that in the chat. Personality. Okay. That's really, really important. Personality. All right. It's just simply asking the question, what is it like to be around you? Okay. We're not here to put everybody on interviews and be psychoanalysis individuals. We're not here to put people through therapy sessions and be everybody's therapist, counselor, coach. Okay. Especially for those of you who that is actually the living that you have. All right. Sometimes it can be hard to differentiate the two. And we have to be willing to approach it not as if everybody that we're investigating is a client, okay, but allow some of your personality to be shown. Something that doesn't scream, massive seriousness to the point where it intimidates people to want to connect with you, to have conversation with you. Okay. We know that you're licensed. We know that you're a therapist. We know that you're a coach, counselor, all the things. But let's actually show a little bit of personality. What makes you you? What makes you authentic? What makes you fun? Okay. What's up, Samantha? Good to see you. Okay. What's it like being around you? All right. How do we expose this personality on your profile? Well, this is definitely through pictures. Okay. For those of you who are heavy picture takers, all right, there's got to be something in there that resembles you having fun, whether it's the environment that you were in, okay, smiling, laughing, being around a group of friends. Okay. Maybe your personality is like, hey, I'm just having a good time in my own space, right? I'm going out. Maybe it's not necessarily centered around friends in that particular picture, but maybe it's you doing an activity solo. Okay. Maybe you are going out doing something adventurous. Okay. All right. Samantha, tell me a little bit more about what made your profile great. And then you said you had a cosplay of you as weird. Is that AI or Al on my profiles? Yeah, you might want to explain that. So we definitely want to show a little bit of personality. What makes you you? What makes you fun? What makes you unique? Okay. You definitely want to have something that allows other people to just see and look at you and say, yo, like, okay, she or he has some type of fun to them, excitement. Okay. They're not too serious. They don't take life serious all the time. Okay. So that's something that's really dope. What makes you you? All right. That's really, really big. The second P that you want to ask yourself in the framework of creating your profile or a healthy profile is your purpose. Okay. It's purpose. So there's personality and then there's purpose. And purpose is more so just asking what direction is your life moving? Okay. How do we identify your purpose on a dating app? Well, we're not trying to have deep philosophical conversations, theological conversations in our prompts. Okay. We're not trying to get into all that off rip. All right. But maybe there is, like, for some apps, okay, if you get on Hinge, you have your work. Okay. There's something that you can actually create an answer to regarding prompts that literally guide you to give an answer towards something that you're building towards. All right. So, what is the direction in life that you're moving? What is something that you're looking to achieve, create, do? Okay. How are you wanting to help people, help others, serve others? Okay. That's typically what we're answering when we're talking about purpose. So, we don't necessarily want to just see a repetitive answer on your profile. It's giving us some depth, it's giving us some connectivity, it's also giving us a sense of direction. Stating a level of purpose in your app is actually giving you an opportunity, or I should say, purpose in your profile is giving you an opportunity to be able to extend an invitation to somebody who is looking at your profile and say, okay, they're definitely doing something that's a little bit bigger than themselves. Okay, what does that look like? All right, what are you building? What are you creating? What are you cultivating? Where are you headed? What are you doing? Okay, so that's really big. You can show this through pictures, sure. I think it might be easier to kind of answer some of this through prompts that are given. Okay. Most dating apps have a section where you can add custom prompts. Okay. So you get to kind of choose out of the litmus test of prompts that you have and then be able to answer it based off of what that reads. Okay. So your personality, what is it like being around you? What photos, prompts can you answer that actually gives a sense of, hey, this is what it's like to be around me. Okay. In fact, there's a question that you might see on Hinge often. All right. Dating me is like. All right. So they give that prompt, and that's an opportunity for you to insert a little bit of personality. Maybe it's a little bit of humor. Maybe it's a little bit of relaxation. Okay. Creativity, fun, all the things. Okay. What is it like being around you? That gives somebody a great indication of that when you answer that prompt. Purpose, we're talking about direction. Next steps, where you're going. The third P is playfulness. Okay. Playfulness is really, really important when it comes to building a healthy dating profile. All right. Again, these profiles are not designed for us to get to know all of you. That's what initial conversations, matching, and all that is there for. And again, you want it to be something that's attractive to the eye of the person that you want to connect with, the type of people that you want to do and build a relationship with. Okay. There's a sense of playfulness. Somebody who's just serious all day, every day. You don't smile in any pictures. You mean mugging, and you ain't got nothing in your prompts that says that you're playful. Somebody to just be enjoyable with, humorous, have fun connections with. It's an easy pass for a lot of people. Okay. So playfulness is just simply asking the question, can someone enjoy conversation with you? All right. So what are some prompts that can help you actually identify if someone can enjoy conversation with you? Okay. Maybe this is more so of a two true. Maybe there's various prompts. Okay. I'm just speaking on Hinge, but you got to be creative on other apps that you might get on. You might see two truths and a lie, right? Invite somebody to guess it. Okay. Maybe there's a dating story time, a dating fail story time that you might share. Okay. Talk about something that you're weirdly attracted to. Okay. The last thing you did to have fun. All right. Maybe there's prompts centered on what you do with friends, what you geek out over. Okay. What if loving this is wrong, then I don't want to be right type of thing. Right. Maybe you want to sprinkle in a little dad joke somewhere. It's got to be a sense of playfulness that invites this person to want to, just be interested in even a comical conversation. Okay. Making somebody laugh. What's funny? What's interesting? All right. So you want to have a sense of playfulness in your profile. You don't want it to always be nothing but seriousness. Okay. So we got personality, we got purpose, we got playfulness. Here's the fourth one. Principles. Okay. I like values personally, but we'll go with principles because it kind of matches the flow of the five P's. And when you're talking about principles, we're just talking about the values that guide you. Okay. Some apps make it easier. Okay. For those of you who are believers and you're looking to date, you get on Upward. All right. They have a sense of like, okay, these are some core tenets that maybe you value most when it comes to who you're connecting with: integrity, family, faith, all the things. For every dating app, there's definitely an opportunity for you to mark, some of the things that you invest in. It's kind of a form of values, kind of gives off a sense of values to some degree. Okay. Working out, smoking, drinking. Okay. If you have children, if you don't have children. Okay. The faith that you are in. Okay. Be sure to answer all of those in your profile. If you really want to make the most of your profile, you're not going to leave a prompt, a section unanswered or unedited. You want to give somebody the full scope of a starting place to have conversation and connect with you. Okay. So if you're building an app, you shouldn't just have your age and your location or where you're at. Okay. If you're actually being intentional with a good profile, you shouldn't have random prompts up there and then just no answers in all those random prompts because you just had to have that filled out as part of having a dating app. We got to be intentional with it all. Okay. So we got to have some level of principles. What do you value? Okay. What do you value? There's a great leading question and prompt in some of these dating apps that says you should not go out with me if. That is a great opportunity to insert something that you value, that in the event of that not being there is probably a good indication that we shouldn't match. Don't swipe right. Don't swipe right if you're not serious. Don't swipe right if you're not intentional. Don't swipe right if you're not insert the blank. Okay, but we got to be able to move with this in a healthy way. Okay. So that's really important. What do you value? And then the fifth P, all right, is pursuit. All right. What are you dating toward? All right. What are you dating toward? Be specific. Not everybody is looking for the same thing as you. And we can't move with an assumption that they are, because that's kind of how you end up, falling flat on your face. So what are you after? Yes, it's monogamy. Is it long-term relationships? Is it marriage? Okay. A lot of you are coming on these apps and you're just going with the flow. So y'all love to put these figuring out your dating goals. Please stop that. If you really want to be intentional about finding somebody, then your answers need to be just as intentional. So don't come out here talking about you're trying to figure out your dating goals. That's kind of how y'all end up in these situationships that aren't relationships in the first place, and then find room to get mad because that's what you attracted. And then get mad when that person doesn't want to take next steps. It's because it's in your profile. You literally said figuring out your dating goals, which is screaming you don't know what you're looking for. And anything that screams someone not knowing what they look for, please swipe left. For those of you who are wanting to be intentional and move healed in these spaces, again, most people on dating apps aren't. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't go on there with the right game plan and with the right focus and be intentional with every account you see, with every profile you see, and the criteria that is necessary for you to even swipe right on a profile. And here's the thing, y'all, like, especially when you start moving in these spaces more intentionally, you'll realize that maybe the swipe, swiping right, the matches, the connections, it does lower. You don't have as many. That doesn't mean that it's not working. It doesn't mean that you're not out there. It doesn't mean that you're not valuable. It doesn't mean all the different stories that we'll try to attribute to it. It just means anything that we do with more intentionality does come with less, in one way or another, you know, height and connections and all those kind of things. Anything that you do more intentionally and connect and more intentionally and directionally, okay, it's gonna weed out a lot of other people who aren't there. It's gonna weed them out. And that's good. That's what we want. Okay. I would actually argue that a healthy dating profile does not carry hundreds of matches with no movement. A healthy dating profile does not include hundreds, maybe even thousands of matches, but no movement. A healthy dating app actually leads to understanding, it may not be as many matches, okay, but they're all productive. We're getting somewhere. Okay. I was intentional about the swipe. I'm not mad if we matched, and I'm intentional about next steps. Okay. So there's got to be some level of pursuit present. Shout out to Parker in the chat. Man, I appreciate you dropping that. I'm actually coming right around the questions, so stick with me. All right. We're finishing this up, and then I'm coming with Q&A. All right, so a healthy dating profile is going to consider the following: a personality, purpose, playfulness, principles, and pursuit. What is it like being around you? What direction are you moving in life? Okay. Is conversation with you enjoyable? What values guide you? And what are you dating toward? Okay. Specifically, the last three: playfulness, principles, pursuit. You can definitely answer that within prompts in the app. Okay. You don't have to necessarily ask, hey, can someone enjoy conversation with me? Or dating with me is like having nice conversation and all the kind of things. I don't want you to say it. I want you to show it. So the playfulness, maybe there's a joke in there, right? Maybe there's a question that invites some type of playful banter and conversation. All right. Don't just say it, show it. Principles. Don't just say you're a man or a woman of values and principles. Say it, show it. Okay. Here's the things that I value. And that those values can sometimes reflect in some of the images you upload. That's a good connection. Okay. But these are the values that I have in front of me that guide me. And then the pursuit. Okay. That's typically something that you can answer within the apps. Okay. Are you dating towards monogamy, long term relationships? If you're healthy, most of you should be. Okay. But if you're in a position where you're like, I'm just trying to figure out my dating goals, I'm not necessarily saying you should, well, I am saying it. Don't date. Let me just say it like that. If you're still trying to figure out your dating goals, stop using dating apps as a means to bridge the gap. You're wasting your time and everybody else's time. Because what a lot of you don't realize is that even though you are looking for something, you connect with somebody who's looking for something different. Okay. And neither one of y'all are being nearly as intentional as you need to be to weed out what doesn't make sense. So again, these profiles are designed to filter out. I want people to come to my profile, look at what's there, and be like, that's not for me. Whether that's because of what they see through images or it's because of what they're reading in the profile and they're going, man, I can tell that this guy right here is being very intentional and I'm not ready for that. What he's offering, what he's suggesting, what she's offering, what she's suggesting, I'm not ready for that. I don't got it like that. I would love to swipe right, but I can tell by your energy, this ain't it. Not because I may not want it to be, but because I can see the intentionality behind it. That's the goal. The game is not to have the most matches, y'all. We're falling into the comparison trap like we talked about yesterday. All right. And so now that we have a framework there, that's really important. Okay. I want to go through some of these things that, again, kind of speak a little bit more to each of these frameworks that we've created. All right. And so, number one, when we're talking about building the best profile possible, okay, I need you to include pictures that communicate lifestyle, not just looks. All right. I need you to create pictures that communicate lifestyle, not just looks. So now, for some of you, this could be a challenge because a lot of y'all may not take pictures like that. Okay. I'm actually somebody that's not an avid picture taking kind of individual. Like, you're not going to catch me just taking pictures out of the blue. All right. Me personally, I got a lot of things going on in my day regularly. And so I don't got time to just be sitting in front of a mirror taking pictures. Okay. And so for me, I might be leaning more on like older photos that I have that are still obviously recent. Okay. I'm not adding photos onto my stuff from 2012 or 2018 when I was in high school or anything of that sort. Like, they still need to be fairly recent, still include some features about me that are pretty prevalent to the version of me that is here today. Okay. But they communicate lifestyle. Okay. They communicate some sort of, hey, this is just the type of life that this person lives. Okay. So don't just post photos of you on vacation when all of those photos came from one vacation and you're trying to post that as if you always taken flights and as if you always, traveling. It's cool if you add a photo that is from a vacation, but don't let all your photos be from one particular vacation. Spread the wealth. Okay. Awesome. You like to take trips and you like to travel, but also include a business casual picture. Also include a picture of you, if that's working out, if that's at the gym. Okay. That's a pretty common one. But all of it suggests something along the lines of a lifestyle that you are maintaining. All right. Maybe it's best dressed. Okay. You like the way that your fit was looking in this particular photo. Cool. but they need to communicate some type of lifestyle, not just looks. Too many women post pictures where they got nothing but bikinis throughout the whole deal. That don't scream no type of lifestyle. That's just you posting pictures and posting which ones you think looks the cutest among your peers. Be more creative, be more intentional. Fellas, stop just posting gym pics. She wants to see personality. She doesn't just want to see what you look like after taking, after doing 300 bicep curls. Okay. Got to show some personality. If you have a picture of you at the gym, great. If not, you can still make it work. My guy, Dr. Elijah, what's happening, champ? Rumi, nah, not yet. Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. We're finishing up this conversation, and then you can definitely come up. In the meantime, type them in the chat. So yeah, man, pictures that you want to upload pictures that communicate a lifestyle. If you really want to maximize your dating profile, this is what it looks like. Okay. Secondly, all right, you want to include prompts that create conversation. Y'all are so bland, it's disgusting. Y'all are so basic, it's nasty work when it comes to these dating profiles. You add prompts and you just be talking about the craziest of stuff. No invitation of conversation, no curiosity, no nothing. Include prompts that invite conversation. Okay. Let's debate about this topic. That's a great one. It's a great lead. Maybe there's a conversation where you're talking about something you once judged other people for, but you no longer do. It's a great prompt. But you need to choose prompts that invite conversation of some sort, because your profile will easily get overlooked when you're choosing not to engage, okay, and invite some type of creative conversation with people. So you got to get creative. Appreciate you, Raven. Got to get creative. All right. For me, I have prompts. There's one that's like a voice note where I'm asking two questions in there for them to answer. Um, so, and again, I can be more of like a deep thinker, so I welcome it. So for me, it's like, hey, um, most people say that they're afraid of commitment when in reality they're just afraid of choosing wrong. Do you agree or disagree? Right? Or, okay, do you feel that the most um the most peaceful relationships are oftentimes less exciting, or the healthiest relationships are oftentimes less exciting but more peaceful? Right? Do you agree or disagree? Those are conversation inviting questions. Of course, there's plethora of them that you can choose and create. And if you don't know what to create, y'all use ChatGPT for anything else. I don't know why you would not use it and engage with it here. And there's different settings that you can include in your ChatGPT so it's not so agreeable, so it doesn't just post out the easiest of things. Okay, y'all use ChatGPT for anything else, use it here too. Get creative. It's still authentic. All right, but you need to create some prompts that create conversation. If it's a question, if it's a statement, would you rather? This is inquiring. Okay, one of the best things for me when it comes to looking at profiles and being and taking up interest is like, man, this person actually is inviting conversation. Whether it's the deeper it is, the better. I love deep conversations, so I'm a fool for them. I do them all the time. I yap for a living, right? But again, let's get creative. So don't just sit there and have all kind of prompts and statements centering on you that doesn't invite conversation from the person that's viewing your app or viewing your profile. You still get to choose who you respond to. So it's not like it's a make or break. But be inquisitive, man. That's another way to know when somebody is being really intentional and investing the right kind of energy into the dating process. Okay. It's really, really huge. The third thing that we want to make sure to build a healthy profile. All right. Pictures that communicate lifestyle. Okay. Have some that are fun. Have some that are you smiling. Include pictures that actually give people a perception of like who you are in a full body picture. Okay. A lot of people are real slick and catfish like because they're really good at angles and they're really good at this, but they're not good at including pictures that actually shows your entire frame of your body. Go stand in a mirror and take a picture. Okay. Let people see exactly the framework of who you are. Okay. Um, and obviously fully clothed, protect yourself. But pictures that communicate lifestyle, okay, not just looks, prompts that create conversation. Thirdly, we want to include faith without sounding performative. Okay. Some of y'all get on these profiles and there are some that are designed to do it. So if you think about Upward, Upward is a Christian dating app. And there's like a slot and opportunity for you to share your testimony. I think that's really dope. Just being able to see other like-minded or other believers in the faith who are just going through their own experiences and meeting God in different places. That's amazing, right? I think that's awesome. That's an awesome feature that they have. But there are others that may not necessarily have a specific spot for that. That doesn't necessarily mean that you need to write a whole book either. That doesn't mean you need to write an entire, dissertation on your faith, okay, and go a whole apologetics route. This is an opportunity to win a soul for Jesus on a dating app. No, fam. No. No. Like, please be human. Okay? You're on here to make a connection and to build something with someone that you come across. Let's not turn this into an evangelical rally. All right? You can share a little bit about your faith, your experiences, maybe, depending on the app and where it's at. For some of you, it might just need to be, hey, I'm looking for somebody who has a relationship with God. Okay. I'm looking for somebody who's actually being intentional with their relationship with God. Okay. I read my Bible daily and I enjoy going to church. Okay. Icebreakers. Louisa says these guys are playing games in 2026. So are the ladies. Nobody's safe. So the best way that we can actually engage in this in the healthiest of ways is to spot the plays and spot the games and move around. Because not all guys are playing games out here in 2026. And I have a strong feeling that when statements, and I'm not saying this is you, Louisa, right? But statements that are made like that come from people who are oftentimes looking for the same type of person as other people are. Because we're so focused on the looks, the height, and everything else in between that's still surface. And you wonder why you keep getting surface like results. So, yeah, if you're running into a lot of people that are playing games, again, it's just an opportunity for us to continue to move in discernment and move around. But like, let's not limit it to that because not everybody's playing games. And I think it's funny that everybody says that, yet everybody is still getting played by the same type of person. They got the looks and money, but ain't got no substance. You used your body, you used your money, you used your looks, you used your beauty, you used all these other kind of things that are surface level to attract somebody. And then when you got them, you got mad because they didn't have no substance. Whose fault is that? You know what I'm saying? So if we can have the conversation. I'm down, but let's be honest about it and stay curious about it. So yeah, include your faith without sounding performative. Okay. There's a lot of people who will put in the description when it comes to their religion Christian. That don't mean they are. And that doesn't necessarily mean that if they don't have a whole paragraph describing their faith, that they're not somebody who's legit about it either. Y'all, again, these are beginning statements. These are beginning icebreakers to engage with somebody. So be patient enough and be present enough to engage. Okay. Ask them a question about their faith. Wow, I saw on your profile you're a Christian. How long have you been of the faith? How'd that start for you? It's not a dating show. No, we've been on a series covering dating, the dating app dilemma. Okay, so um this is just designed to help us navigate dating, specifically the usage of dating apps in the healthiest of ways. And we've actually been in this for a couple weeks now. This is the ninth part, and we're um we're covering the usage of dating profiles in this particular episode. So be sure to check out the replay, which will be up on my YouTube, um, for anything that you missed from this conversation and previous ones. We've had a lot of good ones. Um, oh, shout out to JC. Since I was 13, but I didn't take it seriously till 23. I love that. You see how? So I love this, JC. You're a great example. This is a great example of like engaging in that level of conversation, right? So like somebody who has they've selected their religion as Christian on a dating profile, cool. Like, hey man, I'm just so curious. Like, how long have you been in the faith? Shout out to you for being a believer. I love it. It aligns with where I'm at. Oh, and then maybe JC responds, oh, since I was 13, but I didn't take it seriously till 23. Oh man, so what happened that led you to take it seriously? Share as much as you like. And of course, if this is a conversation that you're interested in and building on, boom, boom, boom. Now we have some inquisitive conversation building, right? But that's beautiful. Shout out to JC. I've been relatively in the faith all my life, in church at least. I didn't start taking it seriously till I graduated high school, or at least my senior year of high school is when I started taking it more seriously. But when I graduated is where it started actually sinking in and locking in. I had been a Christian. I didn't consider myself a Christian my whole life up until, not up until, but it didn't become serious for me until I graduated high school. That was actually when I read the Bible fully from cover to cover for the first time in my life. My story is a little unique. So is yours. It's a great icebreaker to engage in conversation. Okay. But we do not have to go on talking about, how often you attend church and all the things. We can still keep it relatively intentional without making it sound performative. Okay. And, I'm not hating on nobody who does this. I think to each its own. Um, but like, I think we might do a little bit better if we did not include pictures of us, you know, praying and crying and worshiping as part of pictures on our dating profiles. Y'all, like Jesus is okay with y'all still repping him and not having to feel like you got to post a picture of you crying and on your knees in worship as part of your profile and your dating profile. You're going to be okay. Again, if that's something that you really want to do because it's the only pictures you got, I guess, but it sounds like you need to take some more pictures. But like let's not move with this aspect of like I got to post a picture with me holding my Bible and reading my Bible and being in my prayer closet. Like, fam, it's okay. Jesus is not offended that you created a dating profile and you did not include worshiping at church as part of one of your pictures. And he's not offended if you didn't include your whole testimony as part of your dating profile either. Let that be part of conversation that you build with somebody as you're getting to know them, as questions are being asked, as you're staying curious. Okay. Let's also include, okay, in these profiles, this is all going within the framework of personality, purpose, playfulness, principles, pursuit. All right. Let's also include a little bit of humor. Everybody loves to laugh, and at this day and age, everyone needs a laugh. Okay. So include some humor, but let's not move with immature humor. Okay. Okay. Like, no need to post any kind of pictures, sexual jokes. Okay. Let's like not do that as part of the dating profile. As we talked about, from the psychology of dating for men and women are different, especially for the fellas who are wanting to find the right one who they're looking to date. Listen, she's looking for safety. So cracking sexual jokes is definitely not a sign of safety for her. So don't do it. Let's not do it. Let's just refrain from it all. All right. You'll make it. Yeah, Bryce, your question is saved. I see it. We're circling right back around to it. All right. Include some humor. Maybe it's a dad joke. Something that I love coming across on dating profiles from time to time is dad jokes. They're so cringy but funny at the same time. That's a funny thing to me. Okay. Maybe there's a funny story time. Okay. Maybe there's a picture you post that kind of references a joke. Okay. I'm not telling you that you got to become a full on comedian in your profile, but include some level of humor. It's enticing. It's showing some level of playfulness. Okay. I bet you can't. There's a prompt that says, I bet you can't on Hinge. That's an opportunity for you to put something that's a little humorous. Okay. Don't think of the most basic of things, but be a little bit inquisitive, right? Oh, I bet you can't beat me at 1-on-1, or I bet you can't prove to me this, that, and the third. Maybe there's a debated topic, a TV show that you like, TV shows that you like. Okay. Maybe you reference a funny joke from a TV show you saw, a movie you saw, movie lines, movie quotes, music, debating a topic. Let's argue about how ketchup doesn't belong on eggs. Okay. It continuously invites some type of playful banter. Again, if you are lost for words and you don't know what to put there, y'all, again, use your AI resources, man. I'm not saying to copy and paste it. I am saying it gives you a little bit of room to get creative. Because some of us don't initially think like this, and I get it. But that doesn't necessarily mean you can't create with it either. Okay. So we can be humorous and funny without being immature. I love a good joke. Okay. When you respond to messages, respond with a joke, something that's funny, creative. All right. Let's also move with some clarity without sounding intense. Okay. This is definitely something that you want to make out within the entirety of your profile. It's clear that you're looking for somebody that you want to invest into. Maybe you want to start as friends and build something intentional from there. It's clear, okay, right, that you are not here to play games. You're here to invest. You're looking for something serious. It's clear. How do we present this clarity? Well, there's some options that you can create in your profile. One of them being showing and telling people you should not you should not go out with me. You should not date me if. And let's not save that. I mean, again, if you have other areas in your profile that are screaming a level of clarity, cool. But for a lot of you, that's a great prompt and area for you to be able to describe what you're not looking for. That is easily something that we like to call a disqualifier. Okay. So when you're in sales, you like to qualify people who are clients. Okay. Qualifying people who are valid individuals who make sense for programs. So part of qualifying people is including, it is really just a state of calling out things. Okay. This doesn't fit for you if you are someone who what? Okay. If I'm looking to qualify clients, I might tell you you're not a good fit for this if you can't show up for the community, if you can't be consistent. What's up, Chloe? Good to see you. Appreciate you checking in. I hope all is well still. Hope the dog is doing better too. Um, when you're moving with clarity, it's like, hey, um, don't swipe right if you're only going to match and not send a message. If you're not being intentional about creating about getting us off of this app so we can actually go on a date and meet. And trust me, people will play in your face and still swipe right even though they don't fit those qualifiers. That's why, as part of the conversation, if that is something that you genuinely, if that's someone that you matched with, okay, and they don't actually fit those qualifiers, that's why we have to ask intentional questions and conversations as icebreakers of beginning connections. So stop wasting your time laughing at the small things and creating small talk. Get down to the nitty gritty. Get down to the nitty gritty. People will play in your face and still swipe right on your profile, even if they don't fit any of the qualifiers that you just listed. That doesn't mean that you now are obligated to finish that out, to match with them, to swipe right with them, or to continue conversation with them. This does mean, however, right? That we need to be intentional with the questions. One of the things that I like asking if I matched with a profile, I swiped right on one because I was like, okay, this is intriguing enough. Okay. This is intriguing enough to engage. Then it's like, okay, cool. We'll match. And then I might start out the conversation with a prompt that maybe they didn't catch or hear or look into on my profile. Okay. Oftentimes for me, I'm typically the first one to send a message. Typically, especially on Hinge, you can respond to prompts. So I'm responding to prompts all the time, liking photos, all the things. And so when there's a match, okay, and there's a response to the response that I gave, now I'm in a position to, okay, cool, let's get into some flow of conversation. So out of curiosity, I'm just wondering, like, most people say that they struggle with commitment issues when in reality, what I've learned is it's actually because they're afraid of making a decision. Do you feel it's more of a commitment issue or something else? It's a deep question. It's emotionally, intuitive. Get something going. But when we move with clarity in the profile that we're creating, it makes it harder for people who aren't with clarity to swipe right with that in good conscience. And if they do, that doesn't mean you still have to match with them if you haven't. That also doesn't mean you have to continue conversation with them if you learn early on, they're not intentional. They might have sent a message and matched, and you looked at the profile and you recognize, dang, I actually missed this. So I'm not going to continue this conversation because I missed this in your profile, and I'll keep it moving. Don't be afraid to change your mind. That's what healthy people do. But we're going to be intentional. Clarity from jump. A lot of y'all got a lot of confusion in your profiles from jump. And it starts with you figuring out dating goals. A lot of y'all got confusion up front because you lead with your pain. You don't lead with any kind of personality, purpose, playfulness, principles, or pursuit. You lead with all kinds of pain. Who broke your heart? Tired of having a broken heart. Dating apps suck. I don't know how that entices me to engage in a conversation with you when you are literally partaking in something you're claiming and you already show doesn't work. But it's not because it doesn't work, it's because you're coming with the wrong strategy. And you can't, and dating apps suck. Dating apps are trash. These things don't work. This is the worst. Psychologically, you are literally eliminating yourself as an actual contender of being chosen, pursued, matched with, connected at any given moment. Because you're literally zoned in on the worst. You're so focused on lack, you can't even see a potential abundant in front of you that makes sense to connect. You can't even see it. And you don't put yourself in position to because you're leading with lack. It's a problem. Okay. So clarity, but clarity in what you're after, clarity in what you want. What are you for? Okay. What is somebody benefiting from if they connect with you? Makes a ton of difference. All right. And it doesn't have to mean you come off intense, angry, salty, dysfunctional. I can be clear with what I'm looking for and intentional and still be kind, welcoming, warm. Okay. Makes sense. Now, this kind of tied into what we were just mentioning earlier, avoiding bitterness in your bio. Please, for the love of God and all that is holy, please stop putting in your dating bios everybody and their mama who hurt you. Okay. Please stop talking about your ex and how bad they did you dirty. Please. Hey, Chloe, yeah, you need a session? Book one. I got you. Send me a message. Um, yeah, avoid all those bitterness conversations and and areas. Avoid that. We don't need it. The bitterness that you lead with is actually what's disqualifying you more than you realize. It doesn't set up a healthy profile. It screams you need to get off of them and you need to do some healing work so you can actually be better. Okay. And if there's still some areas in your heart and in your mind that's created this bitterness and resentment towards men, towards dating, towards all these things, that's not a dating app problem. That's a you problem. And we've been centering on this the entire process. Get off and go heal. Matter of fact, the first step you need to do to heal this is to send me a message so we can actually work together to get you through it. Because the one thing that's going to destroy your opportunity for love more than anything is the bitterness you have yet to let go of from people who hurt you, who didn't even know they hurt you, and who aren't even aligned enough to apologize for hurting you. Okay. And to make a different decision and even have a healthier mindset to have made a healthier decision. Like there's a lot of people, a lot of you guys, and this is really a big part of the healing. A lot of you guys are living in areas of dysfunction and hurt and pain because you're waiting for people who can't even see that they did something wrong to acknowledge that they did something wrong. And it's not happening. And I think the quicker we come to a place of acceptance about it, the quicker we're going to come to a place of realizing that we actually have the power to be able to overcome the very hurts and pains we've experienced from people who didn't even see clearly what they were doing. I know what mom did wasn't right, what dad did wasn't right. I know all those things aren't right. And let's actually intentionally deal with these things so it doesn't continue to hinder you from the relationships that you ultimately want to have. There's no quicker turnoff in any capacity. I didn't even have a chance to look at the profile and to even scour because I saw a whole paragraph about what you hate and what you can't stand and what you don't like and how a man can't do and how a man can't be and about who hurt you and how you can't get over it. Y'all, that is in no way, shape, or form a healthy profile. That screams, I need to do some healing work and I'm not a good match. Okay. So let's avoid that and replace the bitterness with abundance. Replace the bitterness with the things that makes you excited, the things that make you laugh, the things that make you enjoy life. Because you leading with that bitterness only tells someone who's looking at your profile, man, being with her has to be abysmal. Being with him has to be abysmal. And it says a lot. Finally, all of this, when we address it healthily, is going to help us see the type of profiles we attract and why, for a lot of you, vague profiles attract vague people. It's clear as day. Vague profiles attract vague people because two minds think alike. No one wants to be specific. No one wants to be intentional. You guys just want to be on here having fun, but not put in the intentional work to connect, to grow, and to use these apps for what they're designed to be used for. And this isn't to address everybody, because some people will hear this and still want to do what they want to do by all means. But don't be surprised when you don't have healthy matches, quality matches, and you're still talking about needing to find somebody 10 years from now when all you've given people is surface things, surface responses, surface this, surface that. You had a whole dating profile of nothing but pictures of you in bikinis and bathing suits, turned around with your cheeks all in the mirror, and then mad when you don't find anybody who has substance. I guess not, because you just literally showed nothing but your entire body on your profile to attract who you needed. And that came from performance, that didn't come from fullness. Fellas can't be mad when you don't when all she wants you for is your money, and that's all you flaunted in every picture. The grills, the chains, the watches, the jets, the cars, the all this and that, the dinners, the expensive settings. the clothes, the Gucci belts, the Gucci shoes. That's all you showed her. And then mad because she ain't got no substance and now she don't want you because you ain't got no money. Well, that's how you attracted her. And how you attract a thing is ultimately how you end up having to keep a thing. It's a lot of people out here who are attractive physically but can't find nobody. And it's because they lack substance. Can't control your emotional thoughts, can't control your emotions. You don't live in alignment when it comes to your faith. You don't live in alignment when it comes to your behaviors, your principles. Your beauty runs only skin deep. Because as soon as somebody gets connected to you and gets close to you, all of a sudden you become a new person. And it's not for better, it's for worse. So vague profiles attract vague people. And intentionality attracts intentionality. And here's the beautiful thing about it is it doesn't necessarily mean that these people that you will attract who are just as intentional as you means that it's going to work out. Intentionality does not always mean that you're going to get the outcome that you envision. Intentionality means I came in here, I saw something that attracted. So I wanted to initiate the process. As I got to know you a little bit more, I learned I'm looking for something different. That's just as intentional when they say that and they lead with that. And vice versa, when you say that and when you lead with that. Intentionality plays a massive role in all of this. This is how we date healthily, especially when it comes to online, man. Be in a process. Be in a process. And if you use your profile as a means to filter out people, you'll actually have a healthier outcome and opportunity to create the more quality matches you're looking for, quality connections you're looking for, because you're more of a quality type of individual. And use this framework to set this profile. Personality, you're showing some personality. Okay. Pictures and prompts, you're showing personality. Purpose, okay, where you're going, the direction you're taking in life, what you're building, what you're creating. Playfulness, all right, having some type of way to invite and inquisit, some type of conversation with people. Principles, what values guide you? Okay, what values guide you? What's important to you? What are the things that you value? Okay, and I want you to think more of than just Jesus, family, friends, work, money. I want you to think of the qualities like peace, emotional control, stability. These things that you will list out will easily weed out the people who don't have that. And guess what? Even if somebody who claims to have that because they swiped right, but you later learn don't, because of the conversations that they have or the conversations that you carry, okay, you being on the discerning end to be able to be patient enough to allow those things to come to the surface exposes a lot more and gives you leverage to move around. As I've been saying throughout this entire time, if you're somebody who uses dating apps, listen, it's a beginning access point. There's checkpoints that people have to reach in order to get more access to you. They should not get it all up front. We should not be hurrying to being at each other's houses and seeing each other everywhere. When we first meet, there are checkpoints. And we're going to get into some of that as we go further into this series. But there's checkpoints. And each checkpoint has a vetting process. And we have to be willing to engage in the vetting process to make this work in your favor tangibly and practically. And when you come in with a strategy and with a strategic place in mind, listen, we're not guaranteeing you're going to match with everybody, but the quality matches that you have are going to make sense. The progress you're going to make is going to make sense. The relationship that you build and create is going to make sense because it aligns. All right. So a healthy profile is one with personality, one that shows purpose, one that's playful, one that reveals principles, and one that shows pursuit. What are you dating towards? Where are you going? What are you looking for? For the love of God and all that is holy, stop creating profiles where you just have pictures and nothing else. Stop creating profiles where you got all your goods in the camera in every photo, but ain't got no substance when it comes to prompts, answering prompts, and connecting with people. For the love of God and all that is holy, stop flaunting your money. Stop flaunting your muscles because you in the gym and you live there. That's great that you care about those things. But if you lead with that and that's all that you have, don't be mad when that's all you get in your messages and in your matches. It's vague, attracting vague. You want to eliminate the vague, be intentional. You want to eliminate those who aren't serious, be intentional. You want to eliminate those who really aren't really about what they say they are, be intentional. And if you match with them because they look like the part, but they aren't really the part, keep vetting them out, asking questions, and be patient. Stop living in a hurry. Makes a difference. So, the biggest question I want you to ask yourself leaving this conversation is if someone read your profile, would they know what kind of relationship you're actually available for? Would they know? Will the person that is viewing your profile, would they actually know the kind of relationship you're available for? Or is it still a guessing game and it gives them permission to kind of still play around because they don't know? And measure this by your profile. And then as you are looking for profiles, because you know what you're looking for in mind, because it's specific, because it's intentional, because it's in alignment, guess what? You're probably going to have a whole lot of more no's than you will yeses, a whole lot of more X's than you will hearts. That's okay. That's a part of the game. The game is to have the most matches and the most likes. It's the most quality, intentionality, and navigating with that moving forward. All right. So I hope this made sense. The goal for these is to build intentionality and to move with intentionality. If you're going to use them, and if you're coming in it from a healed lens, it's going to make all the difference. All right. That's it for our conversation today. All right. We covered that pretty well, I would say. But now let's dive into some questions. Okay. I want to go with Bryce here for a second over on Instagram. He asked, how do I deal with someone that says just friends, but acts like something completely different in my opinion, aka mixed signals? I think it's all about attention. What do I do? Yeah, so Bryce, I think the clear answer here is anybody who's moving with um mixed signals, you're claiming friendship, but that's not how you're living or moving in this connection. I mean, one, if it's a relationship that we want to build intentionally as friends, then we need to call it out, right? So, hey, I'm just noticing, like, you know, we said friends, but I feel like I can't help but feel, and this is how we are measuring it. We don't blame them. We just simply say what we feel. I feel like there's mixed signals here. Like we're still texting every day. You're still kind of saying some things that are kind of leading me to feel like there's still some things that are being said that's leading me to feel like there's still more here than just what we agreed on. Am I tripping? All right. And, if they say, yeah, you tripping, man, because that's not even where I was coming from. None of that. Don't take that seriously. That's not where I was going with it. I was like, okay, cool. All right. And if that's a relationship and friendship that you want to build and you guys are intentional about that, cool. Um, I think that's one of the best ways to do it is by being direct. But in the event that, you know, the boundary keeps getting crossed, whereas like you mentioned that, you have that conversation, and then they turn around and they do it again, they do it again, and they just keep saying things that are leaving you to feel like, hey, there's something more here than what's being said, then we just draw the line and we make the decision to walk away from the relationship. Because at the end of the day, you get what you tolerate. At the end of the day, you get what you tolerate. And so I think there can be a world where we say, hey, I'm okay. And I see that we're in different places right now, and I'm not really feeling the whole mixed signals that I'm getting, and I'm gonna keep it moving. And I think that's how you handle that, and I hope that made sense. Anytime you're getting mixed signals from somebody, chances are either the status of the relationship is confused, or somebody is unwilling to live in the reality and acceptance of what this relationship is. And if it's both, then we probably don't need to be in connection with this person anyway, and we probably should let them go and be okay with that. I think a lot of times, y'all, when it comes to building healthy relationships, we have to get to the place where we realize it is okay to be in a situation where you're like, hey, um, like I don't need to be here. Like I don't need to stay here. I I think you really are at a healthy place when you can look at relationships and say, like, I don't need to prove anything to stay here or to be here. Like, I'm okay with leaving. Any relationship that you have in your life where you're looking at it and you go, I'm not okay with leaving. Like, there's nothing, I'm just not, there's nothing someone can't do to push you to a place of walking away. We should be curious about that. We should be curious about that. And I know that there are plenty of relationships and long term connections that we can build with people, right? Marriages and all the things that, yes, we don't desire to walk away. That's not something we're looking for by any means. And, and let's not act like there isn't anything someone can do in their worst of days and worst of moments that could actually put a strain on a relationship. God is with us unconditionally. And that is the one relationship that will forever remain. There's nothing that we can do to separate us from his love. That does not mean that we also have the capacity to move the same way towards people around us. So we have to be mindful of that. Of course, we want to reflect an unconditional love that God gives. And let somebody that you're connected with continuously cheat on you. I promise you, there's only so many times you're going to take them back before you get tired of getting drugged through the mud like that. And it's time to walk away. You know? Yeah. And you could be Bryce. Yeah, that's why I said, man, I think it's good to ask the question, and be direct. Like, hey, I just can't help but notice, like, I feel like there's some mixed signals here. And, I know we agreed on friendship, but it just feels like there's something else different being presented. Am I tripping? And just be okay with that. Like, I've just learned to be more direct about a lot of things. That's just kind of my style and my approach, you know? Um, and it's turned out really dope for me. Something I haven't always been, but I've grown to become. Because I looked at things to, you know, I always kind of found myself looking at blurred lines a lot. And instead of just overthinking and ruminating with all these questions in my head, let me just be direct. See what comes out the other end. But I hope that made sense, Bryce. Shout out to Sammy over on TikTok who said, "What if I know I need to walk away, but I don't have the strength to do it, and I need to do it?" Um, I don't think it's a lack of strength. I think we have to be careful with the meaning that we attribute to it. I don't necessarily think it's a meaning of a lack of strength, Sammy. Um, there may be a few things there that might be holding us up from making the decision we know we need to make, but it's not because we lack strength. Um, I think oftentimes we're overthinking because we're trying to eliminate as many risks as possible so that we can remain as comfortable as possible. And truth is, with the situation that I know you're referring to, from our conversations, I think it's a matter of comfortability. It's not a matter of like I don't have the strength to do it or I can't do it. You most certainly can do it. And I think we've just kind of rehearsed a certain story in our minds long enough that's kept us in this place for longer than we need to be. What's up, Blue? Good to see you. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And so like think about it too. And I'm no doctor, okay? So like please take this with a grain of salt. Like I'm no doctor or anything. Um but I think you mentioning like smells, um I definitely think it can be a more mental thing than it is a literal struggle bodily and physically. Um I think if we're really going to bring this to a crux, the smell isn't as bad as the conditions you're currently in that are hurting you mentally, emotionally, physically, and even spiritually. If you're telling me a smell is what's holding you back, and we can't get a can of Febreze, a can of Lysol, something that allows us to be able to move in that space a little bit differently, uh, that's kind of a us problem, not a situation problem. There's something you can do though, Sammy. It's not just Febreze and Lysol. I mean, I just use those as examples. You know, yeah. You know, get creative. Get creative. These are the moments where you got to get creative with what's in front of you and what's around you. Google is your best friend. Chat GPT is your best friend, and finding out things that can be helpful to navigate those things. Yeah. I mean, sure. I also think too, like again, it's one of these situations too, Sammy. Like you know what to do, and like this is just me being direct with everything, but also coming from a loving place. Like at some point, it starts becoming more about you wanting attention and less about just doing what you know you need to do. Because if we were to weigh these things out, sleeping on the floor and dealing with some smells may not necessarily be as bad as what we're describing the relationship to be in with where you're at. But that's only for you to answer. And sometimes it just hasn't, and sometimes it's just not as bad as it hasn't been bad enough. For some of us to make different decisions and choices, sometimes the situation we're in hasn't been bad enough. And when it gets bad enough, we'll make a decision. I genuinely believe that. When things get bad enough, we'll make a decision. So, any other questions? When things are bad enough, we will make a decision. Uh, yeah, and I get stuck or lost at the rosy surface level interactions. Yep. Shout out to Tracy to remain intentional in my new relationship about getting to know them on a deeper level. Awesome. Awesome. Shout out to you and your new relationship. If I'm not mistaken, you were oh my goodness. Tracy, let me know if you're still in the chat. I think one of the last times we talked, you were having a few struggles in the dating space, weren't you? Um Definitely remind me. Parker had a thought earlier. My girlfriend of 1 year broke up with me 6 weeks ago. I was gonna propose 6 months from now. I feel lost. Man, yeah, that's definitely tough, Parker. I don't know if you're still in chat or not. Um, yeah, that's definitely a tough deal. And I think my heart definitely goes out to anyone who's experiencing breakups. Sometimes we can have, and I know I can have some more simplistic answers to things. Um, and sometimes it's not as simple, maybe within the minds of those who are hearing it. But um, first off, I just want to acknowledge how tough of a transition that is and how challenging that is. Secondly, I also want to acknowledge that it's important to grieve the loss of a relationship so that way we can leave it healthily. Um, 1 year is a lot of time, a lot of emotional investment, something that we have to spend time recovering from and healing through. And not just healing from what we've lost and what we're letting go of, but healing from what we wished could have happened or the potential we were trying to create, the life we were wanting to create with this person. Okay. And, you know, go from there. And I think it's important that we have to give ourselves time to heal and let go of what was so that way we can fully accept and embrace what is so we can move forward. And that feeling of lostness sometimes is also connected to how much we maybe centered somebody in our life. I definitely think anytime that we feel lost in the sense of a breakup, um, one, it's a subtle impact that we're experiencing, and that subtle impact can sometimes knock the wind out of us. But sometimes too, it can be a reflection of like, oh, like man, maybe we maybe prioritize this a lot more than maybe we needed to, and this loss is exposing exactly to what degree we had this person or this relationship in our lives, and maybe had it in areas it didn't belong. And that can be a tough pill to swallow, but it's one of the things that actually gives us permission to live freely if we let it. And I just encourage you, man, to grieve it so we can leave it healthily. And I think instead of trying to maybe fix everything immediately, I think it's okay to be where we are and not know what next steps are. I think it's okay to not have it all figured out and know what the next plans are immediately. We're in the process of still trying to work through it, but let's work through it intentionally. And I do have a kit, breakup starter kit, a breakup kit designed for us to really tangibly process these things healthily. So you're not doing it alone. So you have community around you, and more importantly, man, so you're able to reframe this experience and live healthily beyond it. And so I would love to send that to you. Whether you're in the chat or not, I probably can just send it to you, just so you can have it. Sounds like it's been a really challenging time, but I think it'll be something that's really really helpful and worth investing into. And just know I appreciate you a ton for sharing that in the chat. And you got support, man. Even people in the Instagram. Shout out to Bryce. He can relate. So Parker, I feel you, man. I spent years getting over somebody, so do not put yourself on a time limit, and you're gonna be okay, man. And yeah, I think there's an opportunity for us to really connect and get some work in. So I hope that made sense. I hope that made sense. All right. Any other questions? My relationship goal is to continue to grow with my girlfriend and feel as prioritized as I do her. To feel as prioritized. Share more on that, Cole. What do you mean? Feel as prioritized? Like you want her to prioritize you to the same degree you prioritize her? Is that what you mean? Or is there something else? Appreciate everybody coming in and answering the questions, by the way. I appreciate you guys a ton. And I'm not too sure where Cole was going with that. I mean, I will say this from what I interpreted from it. Um, oh, here it is. I feel as if I'm on the back burner in her life while I would drop whatever to be there for her. Okay, yeah, yeah. So I do think that's something. I'm glad you said that because actually that's where I was going. Um, Cole, what is your age? If you don't mind me asking. I only ask this because, depending on 19. Okay. Yeah. So one, what you just described is pretty typical. Especially from a 19-year-old and your outlook on the world. Um, I don't necessarily expect you to fully get what I'm about to say, but I do think it can start a conversation and just be a seed, maybe, to your development and growth moving forward. I think, man, the healthiest relationships that we can create, especially as men in romantic relationships, is not needing your significant other or needing, your girl to prioritize you in the way that you prioritize her or to do certain things or be a certain way for you to be okay. Now that's a big ask of anybody who's 19 years old because you probably have heard a lot of different stories and thoughts and perspectives, like, what love is and both people prioritizing each other and putting each other first and all these other kind of things, all other meanings that we'll attribute to it. But man, I think as you continue to grow older, whether this is somebody that you end up being connected with for a lifetime or not, um, I definitely think there's a world where we get the peace we need when we don't move with the incentive that, one, that anybody in our lives should be put on a level of a pedestal where we feel like, they are able to pull us away from what it is that God's calling us to do and where we're called to go. I think you even said it at first. I'm worried that I put her on a pedestal rather than meeting her at where she's at, and that's a very, very big possibility. Um, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't adjust from that, right? Like we can adjust that while still being in the relationship and not feeling like we have to leave the relationship to fix it. Um, and again, like you're gonna go through the relationship and experience different highs and lows and everything in between. So I definitely don't want to try to answer everything full on, but I do think now that we may have realized that, you know, there's some time for us to be able to reframe a lot of these things and just simply get into a place of curiosity with it and recenter our relationship and our life on the right path and on the right things. Because like anytime that we feel we need her to be a certain way for us to be okay, um, I think we're losing the plot and we're giving more power to other, not just to her, but to other people. Because this isn't just showing in your relationship. This is also showing perhaps as you continue to grow older, get work, make money, earn a living, create a career, create a living for yourself. How many things you might connect all that to? Um, where it's like, oh man, like I'm only as good if my bank account is in this number, and I'm only as dope as my girl thinks I am, or all the things. And it's like, man, that definitely lives a life where you are constantly depending on external validation and approval from other people to feel confident in who you are. And as a man, I just don't think that really is a healthy direction to go. And so I think it's something worth just considering and reflecting on, you know? Um, because even if you did at one point start out the relationship putting her on a pedestal, she's the best thing that's ever happened. I don't ever want to lose her. You cling to outcomes, you know. There's a way that we can adjust that without feeling like we have to leave the relationship. Because maybe it is a good, healthy relationship right now, right? As far as you guys know and where you guys are. It's just, you know, we're coming to the realization of some things, and now we need to ground it a little bit. And so, um, yeah, yeah, and yeah, very, yeah. And I just want you to consider it, like there's so much more where this comes from. I can't possibly get it all to you in this one mention, but I definitely don't think it has to lead to like, oh, I got to break up with her. Like, no, no, no. It's just more so like, okay, so in what ways have I prioritized her to the point where it's like, I'll drop anything for her, you know? Like if I'm building something, creating something, I'm working, I'm doing all these kind of things, and now I just find myself dropping it all to go meet her needs and do everything. Like, cause at some point, especially Cole, you wanting to be sounds like, maybe you want to be a married man, you want to be a man of you want to be a man who raises his own family, take care of his own kids, loves his wife, all the things. And like those are all beautiful things. And just realize that as part of you growing into those roles, like you can't possibly you're gonna get to a place where you can't possibly drop everything to be at the beck and call of all that your wife needs. And that isn't to say that you're a bad father, bad leader, bad husband. But like at some point you're gonna go to work, you have a job, you have a business to maintain, right? You have to provide and all these things. And so like you can't possibly just drop everything every time you're asked and called for. And being on the other side of coaching men through these things, like, yeah, she might feel some type of way at first, but trust me when I tell you, she actually finds that very attractive. From a masculine feminine approach, she finds that very attractive because she sees that you're driven, because she sees that you're focused on bigger things, and that involves her, and it involves a life you're building with them, you know? And so I think that's something worth considering, man. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a bigger picture to everything. Like when I was 19, I promise you I was moving the same way. Like, man, if I got this type of girl, if I got that type of girl, man, she got to be the center of my world. We hear all the songs and everything, and it sounds cute, it sounds noble, right? Sounds giddy, but eventually it becomes clingy, it becomes overbearing, and if it to the wrong one, it becomes even more unattractive, not attractive, right? And I think there's a difference between showing somebody that you like a lot of love, time, and attention, and then constantly like putting them on a pedestal as if they can do no wrong, or and then you start noticing how like, ooh, Now I'm feeling like, okay, she's not valuing me to the same extent. And so now it's like, okay, well, is all of this even worth it? And then that's how we know the way that we're loving isn't even coming from a legitimate source. If anytime I start giving a lot of things to people, and the question that comes to my mind is, when am I going to start being prioritized by this same person the same way? Chances are the way that we were loving them was not love, it was selfishness. Uh oh. Uh oh. Yeah, anytime that we start doing a lot of things for somebody and then we start questioning, when are we going to start getting prioritized by that person the same way we prioritize them, chances are we were moving selfishly, we were not loving them. Cuz love doesn't mean that they have to give it back to me in the same measure, in the same fold as I gave it to them. That's when legitimate love actually takes hold. I can move with an open hand, be abundant, be generous, and at the same time realize that everything that I'm giving to this person, they may not have the capacity to give to me, especially in the same direction or duration. Does that mean I have to call into question what I gave? No. Does that mean I have to adjust it and give less? No. I just realize that they don't have the capacity to give it into that same direction. That doesn't mean they're not being loving, and that doesn't mean they don't know. It doesn't mean they're not loving, and it doesn't mean that they're not loving their hardest. So like there's so many other things to apply in there. Absolutely, bro. At what point would you say I got to put me first? Well, I think we should question the idea of being put first at all. So like I want you to be curious, man, like when you think about being put first, like where does that come from for you? Like where does that perspective and thought process, when we talk about programming, that's where all that really cultivates. Where does that come from for you? Um Because like I think when you're moving in a flow of abundance in life, that's not just in your relationships, that's in all areas. I don't necessarily think it's a matter of like a pecking order of who comes first or who goes last. um I think it's actually just to what extent am I valuing the season, the people around me, and what's needed. Because I will say that in order to be able to be fully available to other people around you, you do at some point have to start feeding yourself and being present with yourself, right? I can't expect to be my future wife's place of safety if I don't know how to be safe with myself mentally and emotionally, right? Um I don't think I can expect to consistently speak life and confidence into my future wife if when in low moments I don't speak life and confidence into me. If I can't expect to be gracious to other people around me consistently when in low moments I'm not gracious to myself, right? So at some point I have to begin to give myself what I need so that I can show up for other people healthily as well. And whatever other people give to me outside of me is an addition to my life. It's not necessary for me to live. It's appreciated, it's welcomed, it's received. I won't fight against it, and it's something that adds to where my life is. And so I think that's something that we want to consider, to I guess open up the conversation. Like where do we pick up the belief that like we have to come first in someone else's life? And like in the event of not being first in someone else's life, or you know being first in life in general, like what does that mean? What does that mean? Because I will say one of the things that lets you know you probably should be prioritizing more of what you need so that you can be the best you can be for other people around you is when you're constantly running on empty. And what does constantly running on empty look like? You're constantly tired, drained, overwhelmed, overstimulated. All right. Overwhelmed and overstimulated are two different things. If you're feeling overwhelmed, there's a lot of things that you have to function towards. When you're feeling overstimulated, that's like a lot of your sensories going into overload. What you smell, what you see, what you hear, a lot of things happening at once. So like I'm feeling all that. That's typically when you're going into those places. Um, and it's like, okay, I do need to slow down because I'm probably getting to a place of burnout really soon. And then that's again, and people don't realize this, but that's how a lot of relationships start falling apart. because you're in burnout mode because there's a piece of you that still believes that you should be prioritized above other people in that person's life. And then now, we're not just arguing about the clothes, the dishes, or, small things like a hug not being given, or somebody didn't text good night, or, she didn't tell you that she didn't kiss you and tell you she loved you and all the things. We're not arguing about that anymore. It's a lot deeper. Now we're arguing about a lot of things that just have not been healed and are dysregulated and have kept being buried. And we're arguing from places of emptiness because we're expecting each other to fill each other's cup up, when in reality I should come in full, and then whatever we give to each other puts us both into a state of overflow, right? And there are days in the marriage and the relationship, if we're thinking long term, where you both aren't at 100%. That does not mean that you both still cannot pour into one another and uplift each other through the duration of the time spent. Some days you're 100 and she's 100. Some days you're 50, she's 55. Some days you're 60, she's 30. Some days you're 20, she's 10. But it's like we come together, and even in those low states, we find a way to come up. So, what do you mean? Is it selfish or is it normal? Is what selfish or normal? Are you still talking about to put you first or something different? Like to feel okay, so be specific. So I want to be sure I answer your question as healthy as I can. Is it normal to oh, about not being no, no. Okay, so I don't never yeah, yeah, yeah. So no, you're good. So um I'll say this. Um I do want to give permission that it's okay to feel that way. I do want to give permission to that. It's okay to feel that way. I don't ever want to get into a place where it's like, oh no, fam, like the feelings that you have there is awful and it's terrible. No, 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 no. Especially as men, I don't care what race or ethnicity you have. Um, we do have to get better at being able to process our emotions, allow them to be present, and to not just internalize them, but to be able to communicate them. Because that's how we actually are able to sustain healthy relationships, regardless of what relationship we're building. So, no, I think it's okay to feel that. I think even in the okayness of that, though, let's not just stop there and say, well, it's okay for me to feel this, so I'm just going to stay here. No, I want you to be like, okay, well, what, even though I want to give myself permission to feel this, I don't want to add additional shame or guilt behind feeling this. What is this revealing in me, though? Right? So, with any relationship that we build, it puts mirrors back to us. So, we should want to be curious and say, okay, well, what is this bringing up in me? What exactly is this feeling that I'm having pointing me to? What is it that I need? What is it that I'm after? What is it that I feel like I'm missing? Right? And keep peeling the onion back by asking why. So like maybe it's like, hey, like so like I really feel like I'm not being prioritized, and it makes me, let's just insert the blank. Okay, maybe this isn't you, but let's just use some examples. It makes me feel angry, it makes me feel lonely, it makes me feel sad, it makes me feel like I'm not enough. It makes me feel inadequate. Okay, why? So typically we would just stop at all those emotions we just listed, but this is where we actually get the privilege of leading further. So we ask why. And maybe you come to find out, man, to be honest, I guess there's just an expectation that I'm supposed to be my significant other's priority. And if and I was always thought or told, at least told, or maybe just thought, like if I prioritized her, then she would prioritize me and she would be able to love me the same way I love her. Why? And eventually we're going to get to a crux into a centerpiece where we realize like, oh, okay. So maybe this is just a belief that I curated, that I assumed, a belief that came from other people that I never really investigated. Um and this isn't something that actually fits the relationship I'm in or is even reasonable. Cuz like when we talk about love, I think sometimes we do come into relationships assuming that the same amount of love and measurement of love I can give is the same amount of that the other person across from me can give. I think that's a poor assumption. I won't say right or wrong, good or bad. I just don't think it's a healthy assumption. That's a good word. I just don't think it's a healthy assumption to make. Because when we make that assumption, we're now carrying the weight of assuming that this person can do for us what we can do for them to the same degree. And then when it doesn't happen, this is how we get disappointed because we have an expectation that was unreasonable, that we had no proof or evidence that such expectation could be reached. It was just something that we assumed or believed should happen. And when we move with the should coulds, that definitely gets us in trouble. And so, yeah, man, I think there's just a lot of different, like, you're learning, you're growing, you're 19. I 1000% want to give you kudos and flowers right now because being 19 and being curious about this is, bro, like, you're already, like, even in conversations like this, you're already being put in a position with just seeds of conversation like this to be so far ahead of me, of other people as you continue to mature, man, because it like this is conversation that a lot of people aren't privy to and don't have. And so I want to give you so much credit for that, man, because you're just curious and that's amazing. I don't want you to move from this conversation. Yeah, absolutely, Cole. Yeah, last thing I'll say is, man, I don't want you to leave this conversation feeling like you're doing something wrong or you're not doing enough of something. Man, continue to learn, continue to put yourself in position to be willing to learn. Because any relationship you get into, whether it's one you continue to build here or something else, someone else in the future, they're going to continue to expose these things in you. And you just want to be aware. It's not a matter of like, oh, Cole is now a bad guy or a wrong person. Nah, we're just being curious, man. Let's just stay curious. And the more curious we move, the better opportunities we have to make the changes we need to become the better men and people we are called to be, more secure, more aligned, more fulfilled. So I applaud you, man. Shout out to you, Cole. I appreciate you a ton for asking those questions and sticking with me. And I'm wishing you the best. If you have any other thing, I go live regularly, so pop in, say what's up. Um, but yeah, this goes for anybody, man. And I'll put this out here too. I know we talking a lot about dating apps and all the things. I mean, this goes for any area of your life, but especially when it comes to marriage. Something I've learned, especially with newlyweds, is like you're transitioning from being single to being in a full time relationship with somebody. And so you have to go from learning what it's like to being single, taking care of you, to now taking care and integrating somebody else into your life. I just want to say this. I just really want to say this, especially to the men. You probably, and I know I'm saying this from a place of, I mean, being able to speak to other people in these spaces, but also realizing too that I'll probably have a season where I go through this myself in various different ways, maybe. But you have to be willing to not need your wife so much to the point where you can't function to being the man you're called to be to lead the family you are creating with this person. One of the toughest pills to swallow for men or for newlyweds in any capacity is just exposing the idea that you need your wife so much, and sometimes you need them too much to the fact that you now feel like you demand their respect and you demand all these things and you need all these things to function. And truth is that one, she may not always give it. Two, it may not always happen in the way that you envision it, but that also three doesn't mean that you're in a bad marriage or in a wrong marriage. Y'all are both learning how to navigate this thing together. And part of that is going through the bumps in the road, learning how to communicate and learning how to communicate healthily, which is a very common struggle within a lot of long term relationships and even marriages that start out fresh. Learning how to communicate, you're learning each other. And so we have to embrace that. And one of the things that I challenge men to do is to let go of this picture that, you need your wife to be all these things for you to function. That you need your wife to be all these things for you to be able to function healthily. I think you will forever struggle because there are going to be too many times where she doesn't show up like that. And then as a result, what are you going to do? React and be reactive and continue to live reactive? Or are we going to not associate specific meanings and stories to that behavior and still put ourselves in positions to lead? And here's the thing, I'm telling you this from men who have been married longevity of years. I'm surrounded by a lot of long term marriages. I'm saying this as a coach who has had the privilege of speaking into relationships. I'm telling you this from a little bit of experience, coupled by a lot of things I've just been able to be aware of, and a lot of the wisdom I pull from people who have been where I want to be. I think you just gain a lot and you win a lot more when you let go of a lot more. People think that if they let go and if they release, psychologically, it's a belief that if I let go, then that means I won't get what I'm after. And I think you actually see the very opposite. When you choose to let go, and the more you let go of your pride, your ego, being right, all the things, the need for respect, I think that's actually where you start seeing more of those things as a result. And it isn't because you're demanding it, you're clinging to it, or it's supposed to be a sign of your maturity or manhood. It's actually because you're realizing that like you don't need that to function to be who you're called to be. That's where peace and fulfillment is. Just like for a lot of us, you claim that you need to be seen, heard, and all the things in order to function. I don't disagree with the fact that those are relational nutrients. We've talked about that in streams before. You know, relational nutrients, we had that. I wish I had the stream replay. I don't. Okay. That if you were there, you know what we're talking about. Okay. But and even though those are relational nutrients, we also realize too, like you walking around demanding people to see you, to hear you, is entitlement. Because the very Bible that I read, that all y'all love to quote, it says to us that no man owes you nothing. And the mindset of us in social media believing that everybody owes you something is probably what keeps you more frustrated than anything because you're not getting it. And then we find a way to blame everybody else for where we aren't. But self awareness is designed to put the shovel in your hand and to get you to start digging. So just for the record, you ever want a session with me, you ever want to work with me, do any of my programs, all the things, just know that this work is designed to put a mirror in front of you so you can actually let go of all the things that you've prioritized in your life that really aren't that important like you made them out to be. And you might be mad at me for a little bit, but you sure gonna be grateful because of the freedom that you get on the other end. And it's all about measurements of becoming secure. This is how you date healthily. This is how you live healthily. This is how you love healthily. This don't just affect your relationships with other people romantically. This affects your friendships. This affects your relationships with your family. This affects your relationships with your husband and children, your wife and your children. This affects the relationships with your coworkers. This reflects your relationships you have with business partners, entrepreneurs, community. This affects not just your relationships, but it reflects your faith. It affects your finances. It affects your health. It affects so many other areas of your life that we are just privy enough to see it through the lens of relationships as it's being exposed. And now through our awareness, we have the ability and leverage to do something about it. So it just makes a difference. It just makes a difference. All right. But I'm done. I'm done yapping. I need to give my voice a break. All right. So I appreciate you guys' time. Listen, if you guys are interested in next steps and what all this stuff could look like for you, do me a favor. Go to the top of my page. All right. On my socials, Instagram, TikTok, click the link. You'll be able to get a free relational diagnostic and take a free attachment style quiz so you can know what your attachment style is, which is really, really important in today's day and age, especially when it comes to dating. So that way you know what that is and you can heal that healthily. All right. So be sure to check that out. Also, I have a free week trial of my secure program designed to get you from anxious or avoidant attachment to secure attachment. The first week is for free. It's on the house. And I got people going through that program right now for the free that are getting amazing wins. And I want you to be one of them. Okay. You're tired of anxiousness. You're tired of clinging. You're tired of overthinking. You're tired of overthinking every ghosting, every date, every rejection. You're tired of rejection wounds showing up and ruining everything. You're tired of crying over the same person that keeps breaking your heart. You're tired of giving people access that you know don't need it, but you're so desperate you're willing to give it. You're tired of it and you want change. This is the place to be. Okay. So not comment, but DM me secure in the DMs, specifically over on TikTok, but do the same on Instagram as well. And I will be able to get you next steps on what that looks like to being a part of that program. If you DM me on TikTok, you actually get an automated messaging, okay, that allows you to go in the flow of what you need, okay, so you can actually start making a difference there. All right. And got more content on the way. We're going to continue our dating app dilemma series next week. I probably won't. If I do go live, it might be a more of a Saturday reset tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Please check out my stories, profiles, and everything related as we're posting testimonials. Okay, so you guys can get a glimpse of other people who have not only gotten a taste of the work, but have joined programs and gotten amazing results. I want you to be a part of it too. Okay. This is not just a place to have conversation and to talk. We're actually here to put action and see legitimate transformative change in your relationships to bring you to a place of secure attachment, building healthier, happier, and whole relationships with yourself, with God, and with others while building security that lasts. Okay. So I want you to be a part of that too. If you can't do any of that, follow for more as we continue navigating through healing and doing relationships the right way, which starts with us doing the healing work on ourselves first. And I'm excited to connect with you soon. And until next time, be easy and be breezy. Peace. Hey, appreciate y'all. Take care.